coastal processes and coastal landforms. And you guys remember we have yesterday discussed about different parts of the coastline and how water moves and it cuts, erodes, and deposits the sediments. Let's see today what coastal landforms are and what are the features, what are the various features that are present and the processes through which these landforms are formed. There are many factors and forces that are involved in the formation of coastal features. There are some direct factors and there are some indirect factors. We will see what these factors and what these processes are. And as we can say that the coastal landform is a combination of interaction between the water, sediments, and the geology of the coast, the rock types that are present at the coast. We can characterize them based on the processes, the sediments, and the geology of the coast. Geology means the rock types. The rock types that are present at the coast are responsible for the formation of various landforms. So the landforms are actually a result of the combination of processes acting upon the sediments and the rocks that are present on the coast. Like for example, if there are sedimentary rocks present on the coast, if there are metamorphic rocks present on the coast, or if there are igneous rocks present on the coast. Because all of these three rock types will have different behavior and different style of weathering, and they will also have a different style of erosion. The most important and significant process in these coastal landforms and coastal features is, of course, the waves and the resultant currents that are generated by the waves when they interact with the coast, and of course the tides. Of course, the tides as well. Now, the factors in the formation of coastal features include waves and tides, rip currents, longshore currents, climate, rainfall, temperature, wind, and the gravitational force or the gravitational process. So the combination of some of these processes, or maybe the dominance of one of these processes, will result in the formation of the coast that you see. Like for example, if you see the coastal areas in Karachi, or if you see the coastal areas in Gwadar or some other beach in the world, it is combination of these factors that shape the formation of these coastal landforms or the beach that you see. First, we start with the waves. Waves are continuous process. You see a beach, and the waves are the most significant part of process that is continuous 24/7, and it is the continuous motion of sea towards the land in the form of the waves. Or they can interact with the ocean bottom, as well as they can also transport the sediments that maybe they eroded it from somewhere here, and then Like for example, if there is an erosional, there is a cliff, so the waves, they interact with the cliff, and they try to erode it, and then they take the sediments in the suspended form. So the sediments will be suspended in these waves, and when the velocity of the wave will be reduced, these sediments will be deposited next to the coastal cliff or next to the coast. Longshore currents. The movement of sediments along the coastline is called the longshore drift. As we see, the waves are coming in from this direction. This is the land, this is the sea, and the the waves are smashing the sediments on the coast, and the motion that it carries to the sand to the coast, we call it as swash. And as the waves go back, like once the waves comes in and then it has to go back, the next process is called as the backwash. And in this process, a sand particle that was present here keeps on moving along the coast in this fashion. We call that as the longshore transport or longshore drift. So these are the synonym terms, and the currents that carries it are called the longshore currents. Here you can see another example, another illustration. This is the coastal area, and here we have the water body, and you can see the movement of sand is like this, result of swash and backwash. And the current that is responsible for the movement is called the longshore current, and this is the direction of waves. And as a result of this wave motion, the longshore currents interact with the coast, and it transports the sand significantly along the coast, and it continues until the sand is moved from one place to another. This is called the longshore drift or longshore movement of the sand. Rip current, once the water comes in, the waves comes in, and sometime large amount of water comes in towards the coast, and then that water, because there is a gap created at the backside, तो पीछे थोड़ा gap create हो जाता है water में, and then water rush and moves backwards. As a result of that, there is a fast currents that are present. We call these type of currents as rip current. As it is written, as waves moves towards the beach, there is some net shoreward transport of water. This leads to slight but important upward slope of water level. The water level reaches a slope on the beach, and then once the slope crashes, once the velocity decreases, it has to move back. And in certain areas, just like you see this bulbous shape, this is the movement of water when it goes back, and it relieves the instability of the sloping water. Here you can see a beautiful example of a rip current. The waves were coming in. This is the waves, and you can see that the water, once it came in, and then that water rushes back. Or this type of motion or this type of current we call is as rip current. Okay, and it is very easy to identify it based on this color dye. This is a beach, and you can see the scale. Maybe this is a person standing here, similarly here, and you can see the scale of these currents and how they form the shape of the coast. So here we have the coast, and similarly this is the beach, the beach area. This is the coastal area or the sea part, and you can see that the waves are breaking in on the beach, and as a result they are making the longshore currents, and some of the water that was present and couldn't keep up the pressure and keep up its shape, so it will move back in the form of rip currents, and this process goes and on. It's like a cyclic process. Tides. Tides are also important, and they are rise and fall of the sea level, and it is actually controlled by the astronomical conditions, the conditions that are present in the space, and that actually marks the low and high water level or water tide, and you can see that the water level is low, and once the astronomical conditions are favorable, then the water level will be high and all this area will be submerged. And however, the movement of the tide, the transport of sediments with the tides is almost similar to what we have seen in the longshore drift or longshore current. Just like this will be the motion, and this will be the style of movement. Then comes the other factor, climate. Climate is also very important. Like for example, uh, what type of rainfall is there, what type of temperature is there, what type of wind conditions are there. All these factors are important, and they can make a coast as erosional coast, or they can tell us whether this coast has a depositional component. But these are some of the important factors. Rainfall is very important because it provides the runoff in the form of stream, and also is a factor for producing and transporting sediments to the coast. Like if there is more rainfall, this is the coastal area, and there is more rainfall from the storms or some seasonal rains, it means there will be more water, and that water rushes to the coast. Like all the water when floods comes, so जैसे floods आते हैं, तो most of the water it takes sediments to the coast. It is a significant factor in terms of volume of sediments. तो जितनी ज़्यादा बारिशें होंगी, जितनी ज़्यादा क्लाउड्स हैं, जितना ज़्यादा क्लाउड वॉल्यूम होगा, उतने ही ज़्यादा sediments will move from the land area to the coastal area. Temperature is also very important. If the coastal area that is present in an area where we have cold, like we don't have much sun, like the Scandinavian countries or Norwegian countries where we have cold weather, the shape of the coast will be different and morphology will be different. Similarly, if it is in the warmer region, then the chances are there that due to the rise in temperature, the shape of the coast and the weathering style will be different, because the temperature plays very important role in weathering, and similarly if there is a freezing weather, then the weathering style will be different, and if it is cold weather, then the weathering style will be different. Then comes in wind. Wind is also very important, and it affects in two ways: directly and indirectly. Indirectly in the form of waves plus wind, and as you see, the waves are driven by the winds that are prevailing direction of the wind. And if there are intense winds, then it means the conditions are rough. Like आपने सुना होगा, sometime there is a warning in Karachi that people don't go to the coast. So that is because there are strong winds, and due to these strong winds, the sea becomes rough. तो जो सी है उसका जो वेव्स का स्टाइल है नॉर्मली जो होता है it will change and it will be like high waves, or the volume of the waves that comes on the coast will be different. Gravity as well, as gravity controls erosion, as maybe you guys have remember during the landslides, as we discussed, or mass wasting or landslides. What happens? There is a large volume of land surface that moves downslope due to the action of gravity. Similarly, along the coastal regions where we have cliffs, or where we have certain features that are located upslope, sometimes the gravity plays its role in terms of its erosion and its deformation. This is one of the important factors, and in combination of these factors will result in the formation of one of these coasts. Coastal landforms can be divided into two types further. One are erosional and the other are depositional. Okay. There are certain differences between erosional beaches or erosional coastal landforms and the depositional landforms. And there is a variety of various sizes, shapes, and it can range from a coast with steep cliffs, like this is the coast, this is the waves, or it can be a very gentle beach. So it depends what type of coastal area it is. Is it erosional or is it depositional, as well as the combination of factors that we just studied, whether their gravity is active, whether there is wind active, whether there is an action of waves, whether there is an action of tides, whether there is an action of various processes. And as a result of it, we divide these coastal environmental landforms into two parts: erosional landforms and depositional landforms. We will try to just introduce the erosional landforms before we just wrap up the class. Continue tomorrow. The two major types of coastal landforms, as we have studied, erosional coasts are one of them, and erosional coasts are those with little or no sediments, as they are not meant to sedimentation or deposition. There is no deposition, there is more erosion. Erosion is dominant. How they look like? Mostly you will see there is a bedrock that is exposed because of the continuous erosion. Like for example, this is the cliff, and you see this is the waves direction, coastal area. And mostly due to continuous action of erosion, you will have steep slopes. You will see this is a slope, and it has a very steep angle, and the elevation of these features will be very high. However, the type of rock, whether it is a sedimentary rock, metamorphic rock, or an igneous rock, whatever type of rock it will depend, and it will impart its important factor on the formation of the coast, and it will have important say in terms of the erosion. We will try to see the other erosional landforms in greater detail